I'm Dave Rubin, and joining me today is an author, a national security expert, and founder of Act for America, my friend Brigitte Gabriel. Brigitte, welcome back to the Rubin Report. I thought we could just do a few minutes on your childhood growing up in Lebanon, and then I want to talk to you about the current events. But your personal story, it's just so absolutely incredible and so relevant to everything that's happening in the world right now.
Exactly, especially as we watch what's happening between Lebanon and Israel and Gaza. You know, I was born and raised in Lebanon. Lebanon used to be the only majority Christian country in the Middle East. Most people don't know that. We were fair-minded, we were open-minded, we were tolerant, we were multicultural. We prided ourselves on our multiculturalism. We welcomed everyone into our country, including Palestinians, because we wanted to share with them the westernization which we had created in the heart of the Middle East. Unfortunately, David, we took people into our country who did not share our values. My 9/11 happened to me in 1975 when actually Palestinian radical Islamists blew up my home, bringing it down, burying me under the rubble, wounded as they were trying to take over our town. I ended up in the hospital for 2.5 months and later ended up living in a bomb shelter, in an 8 by 10 room bomb shelter, without water, without very little food and no electricity. And that's where I lived for the next 7 years of my life, robbed of my youth. So I understand. I'm not only a terrorism analyst who studied about terrorism in college. I'm an eyewitness to terror who lived to tell about it. And that's why I speak so forcefully and so passionately about standing up to those who want to perpetrate evil. If we good people don't stand up and speak out, who else is going to do it? I grew up in the bomb shelter, and Israel was our only lifeline. I remember when we first went into the bomb shelter, people would say, my father would say, America's going to see all the massacres happening in Lebanon, and America's going to come, and France is going to come, and all these big Christian nations are going to come. And we waited and nobody came. And I remember 3 years into the war, I was around 13 years old, and we got a word that night that our town was going to be shelled. And, a friend of ours, a Christian militia fighter, stopped by and he said, I just want you to know, if I don't see you tomorrow, I wish you a merciful death, because I believe they're going to take us over tonight. Oof. And I remember, David, dressing in my Sunday best, my Easter dress, because I wanted to look pretty when I am dead, knowing that when they come to slaughter me, there would be no one to bury me. And I remember sitting in the corner of our bomb shelter, and my father started reading from Psalms. I shall walk into the valley of death and fear no evil, for thou art with me. And my parents said to me, they said, we lived a long life. You are an only child. You are a young child. We will create a distraction when they come to kill us. And you just run towards the Israeli border and don't look back. You see, we lived 2.5 miles from the Israeli border. And we knew if we run to the Jews and beg for help, the Jews are not going to slaughter us. Thank God I did not have to make that decision that night, because that's the night when Israel came in physically into Lebanon and established the security zone and set up artillery bases around our town. And that's how we went on living for another 5 years until Israel invaded Lebanon, working with the Christians, trying to help the Christians take back their country, take back their democracy, and kick out the radical Islamic element that had taken control of the country at that time. And that's how we came out of the bomb shelter and back to rebuilding our lives.
Let's get to the issues of the last 2 weeks or so. I take it that even with the horrific barbarity and the medieval-like nature of all of this, that you probably, of all people, were not particularly surprised.
The massacre itself did not surprise me, because I understand how much they hate. And that's why I titled my book, Because They Hate. The massacre, the venom that are being fed from their mother's milk to hate the Jews. Arab children, from the time they're born, they teach their children how much to hate the Jews. And that's the sad reality. The general teaching across the Arabic world is Israel is Satan, Israel Azrael. This is why you see the barbarism happening. But the barbarism is not new. And it's only not directed at Israel only. This is why people think, oh my gosh, Hamas, we need to feel sorry for the poor Palestinians. People need to understand that throughout the Middle East, they have zero tolerance for minorities. And Israel is the bullseye in their eye because they could not kick Israelis out. I mean, look, they tried to eliminate the Armenians in Turkey. The same type of massacres, the beheading, the killing, the stabbing of a mother pregnant, getting the baby out, stabbing her in the stomach. I mean, we're hearing the stories out of Gaza. They did the same thing to the Armenians in Turkey in the beginning of the century. Israel didn't even exist. 2 million Armenians were massacred. They did it to the Christians in Lebanon. They did it to the Yazidis in Iraq. Have we forgotten what ISIS did to the Yazidis? What Hamas did to the Israelis is basically ISIS 2.0. Nothing has changed. It's the same tactics with the same barbarity that no one in the civilized world should accept or stand for. But this is also aided and abetted by the leftist socialist Marxists in the West. The difference between Israel and the Arabic world is a difference between civilization and barbarism, a difference between democracy and dictatorship, a difference between goodness and evil. And by the way, where are the Palestinian mothers condemning this behavior? Where are the Palestinian daughters saying, look, we do not accept the kidnapping of 6-month-old children or 2-year-old little girls, or the rape of teenage girls, or the torture and rape and humiliation of grandmothers? Where are the Palestinian voices speaking up right now? But the only way you're going to fight a war is to win it. They have to win. And yes, in war, innocent people die. That's a part of the collateral damage of war. And I am the last person in the world who advocates for war. I'm a survivor of war. But I understand that if you are fighting a disease like cancer, you've got to root cancer out, because if you don't, cancer is going to kill you. It's not an if. It's a matter of when. It's not a question. And right now in the Middle East, if we want to prosper in the Middle East, if we want to see a prosperous and peaceful Lebanon, a prosperous and peaceful Palestinian territories, a prosperous and peaceful Jordan, you have to take out evil, starting with Iran. Iran is funding both Hezbollah and Hamas, and they've got to take them out. Have no mercy. Go out and take them out.
Does it sort of seem to you like a lot of the Arab countries, they need Israel in a way? Like they kind of need it because it's the scapegoat for all of the bad things that they do to their own citizens. I mean, in Lebanon, as you described, Palestinians can't vote. There's, I think, 20 or 30 things. They're not allowed to be lawyers or doctors. There's like a series of things. Same in Jordan. Like they sort of need Israel to be like, well, we're doing some bad stuff to you, but the Jews over there.
Well, look, the Arabs need the Palestinians, but at this point, the Arabs are prospering. They are growing. And the Palestinians, everywhere they go, they cause a problem. That's the problem. That's why Egypt doesn't want them. That's why they said, no way. All they have to do is look at what the Palestinians did in Jordan and what the Palestinians did in Lebanon. They destroyed Lebanon. King Hussein of Jordan bulldozed 30,000 of them back in 1974-75 and kicked them out. His own wife is a Palestinian and he doesn't want to take any more Palestinians. They are a problem anywhere they go, and that's why they do not want them. Why are they still screaming about, 4 generations ago we used to have a home? What about all the Israelis, all the Jews that were kicked out of Arab land? Over 1 million Jews were kicked out of Egypt, out of Iran, out of Lebanon, out of Jordan, out of Syria. They're not complaining we want to go back. They said, okay, we were kicked out. We'll start a new life somewhere else. Just like I started the new life in America. We need to move forward with the times, and they need to get over holding a grudge and moving over so everybody can live in peace. And by the way, Dave, one important thing. Ehud Barak in 2000 offered them 97% of the territories. 97%. They did not want it. They didn't want it. They wanted all of Israel because they want to kick the Israelis out. And most people don't remember. In 1964, when the PLO was founded, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, Gaza was Egypt, and the West Bank was Jordan.
Yep.
The PLO was founded to eradicate the Jews and annihilate them and kick them into the sea. A Jordanian flag was flying over Gaza. They didn't call it occupied territories then. An Egyptian flag was flying over Gaza, and a Jordanian flag was flying over the West Bank. How come they were not screaming about occupation then? What the Palestinians want is basically to eliminate the existence of Israel out of the Middle East, period.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because one of the things I've really been trying to do for the last 2 weeks is tell people basic history. And, there's this whole thing now where people are saying, well, there's been an occupation for 75 years. And it's bizarre to me that people seem to be calling for the British Empire to return, right? I mean, that's what, in essence, you'd be asking for, because there never was a Palestinian state.
That's right. That's right. There was never a Palestinian state. Even Jews who lived in that region were Palestinians. Look, Jerusalem was desolate land. I mean, they didn't care of it. Have you seen pictures? People need to Google pictures of Jerusalem back 100 years ago, 150 years ago. I mean, it was nothing. And, Israel accepted whatever the UN gave them. And actually, the reason why Israel is on the coast with the sand dunes, that's what the UN gave Israel. The Arabs said, okay, fine, give them that. They're going to die. You can't grow anything. It's desolate land. The Jews turned the desert into an oasis. They turned it into Eden. And then in 1967, the Arabs attacked the Jews. That's how, Israel ended up with Jerusalem. This is how they ended up. And look at the Yom Kippur War. Israel gained more land every time the Arabs attacked Israel. And finally, Israel doesn't want the land. They gave the land to Gaza. For those who are saying occupation, Israel withdrew out of Gaza in 2005. And a lot of us did not want Israel to withdraw out of Gaza. Israel dragged their own citizens out of Gaza, literally dragged them kicking and screaming. And, because they wanted to give all of Gaza to the Palestinians. Here it is yours, you build it. They left all the greenhouses. Gaza used to export 50 million flowers a year, just flowers, out of the Gaza Strip. Not to mention tomatoes, vegetables, fruits. They used to export all over the world. The Israelis left all the greenhouses behind. I know a Jewish businessman in New York, a very lefty Jewish businessman, gave the Palestinians $14 million so they can start with the base money, so they can continue running the greenhouses, so they can flourish and grow their economy and hire people. And what did the Palestinians do in Gaza? Within 24 hours, they burned 126 synagogues, destroyed the greenhouses, even dismantled the pipes. So they stole the copper out of the pipes. They destroyed them. These people shoot themselves in the foot. They could have turned Gaza into Singapore, but they didn't. It's not the fault of Israel. It's the fault of Hamas and the Palestinians. You and I are so passionate about freedom because we understand what's at stake. I fight this war not because somebody else is going to like me. You cannot believe the hate mail that I get. You cannot believe the death threats that I get.
I can believe it.
Yeah, you probably get some too.
I can believe it, but some other people couldn't.
I do because I want to be able, on my deathbed, to be able to look at my children and tell them, I did everything I can to preserve freedom for you so you can live in a great and prosperous country. This is what I want to leave for my children. Freedom is only one generation away from extinction. That's why we need to fight for freedom. We need to stand together and we need to fight together. This is a fight between civilization and barbarism. This is a fight between goodness and evil. We need to be on the side of good.
Brigitte, you never disappoint. It was good to see you.
Thank you, my friend. Have a great day.